we're trying to track down a male porn star from the 90s who just got released from jail. And basically, like, some bloods that we know attacked him with eggs on the street, and there was a viral video of it, and we're trying to get in touch with him, but apparently he's, like, too much of a streetwalker at this point to have, like, social media or anything. I don't know.
Wow.
It's a whole thing. But we also suspect that he might have been forbidden from creating an OnlyFans or social media profiles by the judge, because we had somebody, I don't know if we believe it, but who told us that he has 10 rape charges.
And do judges forbid people from making OnlyFans? Is there precedent for this?
Maybe on parole or probation.
Right? Like, while you're on parole, maybe they could forbid you from doing it. Just because I don't see any reason why he wouldn't have started OnlyFans, considering he seems kind of hard up for money. My other theory is that he has AIDS. I don't know.
And that would prevent you from starting an I guess I don't know much about male OnlyFans performers.
Oh, we should start there. Let's start there. Are we recording?
Yeah.
Okay. You don't. Well, we exist.
Oh, you're all on OnlyFans?
Oh, I'm on there. Yeah.
Okay. How much money do you make?
I shall not answer that. Top 0.01%.
Top 0.0. Okay.
Yeah.
I have like a graph that shows what that is equivalent to. So.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you've
or
done
is
that work.
Kind of outdated though.
We've talked about that, but never knew that anybody actually did the science.
Yeah, I did a survey of a bunch of OnlyFans girls and what incomes corresponds to what. But again, this is outdated, and so as like incomes rise, then the percentage changes.
Can we talk about the inequality in the adult industry where the guys like clearly has the harder job but gets paid way less? I really feel like we need to speak out for all the men out there.
Yeah, where's the gender equality?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can get behind that.
Well, I mean,
it's not the hill I want to die on, but it is a hill I want to spend a little bit of time on.
Well, to be fair, ultimately, I like the free market, and clearly, people are valuing male and female labor differently in the sex industry.
It's true. It's not about how hard the job is, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's about how hard the dick is.
And the scarcity. Mm-hmm. You know, it's.
Although I just did a study on, so I had somebody scrape the data from an escort listings website.
Okay.
So I have, a bunch of data about like what people describe themselves as, what their physical attributes are, their gender. And I was shocked to find that the male escorts don't charge that much less than the female ones. Like a high-end male escort charges around as much as like an average female escort. And to be fair, there might be selection bias, like maybe the guys who aren't like super jacked and willing to like get hard no matter what. Maybe they're not listing themselves as escorts, but
I think it's partially like a scarcity issue where there are a lot of attractive women who are willing to have sex for money, and with men, I feel like it's just not really like a coveted position. Like a lot of the dudes who do this, they hide it. They don't want you to know.
Wait,
about that.
I feel like it's way higher status for a man to be like, hey, I get paid to have sex. People pay me to have sex with them.
I think deep down, all men kind of look at other male sex workers as kind of bitch made. And I might be saying that because I have a little bit of a selection bias towards the hip hop community and the black community, in which like I see the way it is for the porn star dudes. And it's like they get respect because they're making a good amount of money. They're fucking all these girls. So it's like there's an amount of admiration they get from their community for that. But then it's also looked at as a little taboo and a little weird. But that's porn star. Stripper, I mean, those guys are making a shitload of money. They're tons of girls. Ain't no cool black dudes out here bragging about being a stripper. Even though some of them do it. But they don't want to put it on Front Street.
Normally, all the podcasts I'm on are typically really tech heavy, like Silicon Valley, whatever. And I don't think I've ever talked to somebody who feels like they might know more about the sex industry than I do in some areas.
Well, we're here. Yeah. Because I was watching you with the dudes, the trigonometry dudes or whatever. And that was funny because it's like there's so much shit that they had to like grill you on that I was just like, oh my God, are you fucking serious? Like when you're saying like I feel like I would feel more dehumanized working in a factory than being a sex worker, and to them that's like mind-blowing, and I'm like, of course.
Wait, so do you have run-ins with like conservative crowds? Like when you post your shit online, do like the right conservative people get horrified at you?
Well, I'm gonna be real with you. I feel like my time doing porn never got any blowback from the conservative community, and then I let my wife get fucked by one African American man, and boom, I'm like the enemy of the conservatives. Even though I feel like I'm pretty, center politically. Now, I am certainly center left. I am a Kamala voter, or I shall be. But I mean, it was kind of crazy to see that just happen instantaneously. Even though I already had like existing relationships with a lot of, the whatever pod and the fucking Fresh and Fit, and even like I get on stream with Aiden Ross and Andrew Tate as a result of that whole situation. And Andrew Tate.
So this was a situation. Your wife, a black guy, was.
So we've been doing porn for a while.
Oh, yeah.
We get married, and like 2 months later, we totally unrelated to the marriage part. She does her first ever scene with another guy, who just so happens to be a gigantic black man. And
then you become a obviously.
This began a very interesting career arc for me, in which I was treated like a really, truly sick individual.
Dude, people can't handle, dudes especially cannot handle the concept that you could be okay with like somebody that you love having sex with somebody else. I think it's like a typical mind fallacy thing. Like people are pretty good at being like, okay, so I'm straight, you're gay. I can't imagine how you would like having sex with men. But like, I'm going to like kind of try and imagine it. And then they do it enough and then we seem to be fine with gay people now. But this is not extended whatsoever to open relationships in this sense.
Right. Yeah. Although I would say that like the vast majority of the people who are shitting on me for the whole cuck thing probably are the same crowd that would be angered by, somebody choosing to be in a gay relationship or whatever.
Oh, yeah?
I think, yeah, it was like primarily coming from the right. When I would see like larger left-leaning publications or commentators, YouTubers talk about it, it would usually be like a very brief conversation. Like somebody like Destiny talks about it, and it's like a fucking 30-second conversation where it's like, yeah, I mean, if it makes him happy, sure, that's cool.
Yeah, he's way more tolerant about stuff like that.
He's a freakazoid, zestophile. I don't know. Zestophile? I don't actually mean that, because that's just something somebody called me on here one time that it just really stuck in my brain.
Does it mean like you're spicy?
In hip hop,
because he's very spicy.
Zesty has become like a pretty popular stand-in for like gay or gay presenting ish.
Okay, I just assumed it was. Where am I, by the way? So I feel like I entered a different world here. Okay, so for one,
wow, that's crazy.
I feel like it's actually slightly intimidating, because normally I have like this kind of weird thing to pull out of my hat, which is like, oh, I have sex, and everybody goes like, gasps and clutches things.
Okay.
And I'm like very chill about it.
So you don't know anything about me?
Well, I watched some of your interviews, but I didn't get the fact that you did porn from that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I come from the BMX world. I rode BMX bikes for 10 years. Then I ran this really big BMX website and YouTube channel and shit for like 10 years. Then at some point, I started interviewing BMX riders. I switch over into interviewing rappers and shit, and like a lot of porn stars and stuff too. Then 2016, I get into a relationship with this girl, Lena, who... like very soon after I get into a relationship with her, she ends up becoming one of the biggest OnlyFans girls. And then she kind of like gets more into the porn side of things with me. We start a podcast called Plug Talk, available only plugtalk.com, which we interview a different girl every week and then have sex with her on camera.
Oh, that's great.
Right.
Oh, that warms my heart.
We invented this concept.
That's lovely. Does it do well?
Yeah.
Nice.
Can't complain. Okay. I don't even have my own personal OnlyFans. I do everything through the Plug Talk thing.
That's fantastic.
But yeah, that's my whole deal. And now at this point, we're like 3 years in, so I guess we've shot like 150 scenes on Plug Talk, and then however many other shit for OnlyFans and all that kind of stuff.
That's great.
That's all right.
Okay, so what in your culture, let's say BMX, rappers, and shooting porn on camera, what makes somebody really valuable? Like, if you were gonna be hanging out with people and then signal that you're like a really cool person, what's the kind of thing you could say where people would quietly be like, damn, that's awesome?
I mean, BMX and rappers, like very different.
They are
cultural values.
Dude,
for sure.
I'm like from the internet. I grew up on like internet dirt holes.
Right.
And so this is like, I've like barely listened to any rap, and I know that BMX has something to do with bikes. Like, this is how far away from this thing I am.
I mean, the capacity for violence would be like a huge thing there.
Really?
In all my years in BMX, like fighting was just not really that much of a thing. Like dudes would get into like a drunken bar fight here and there, but not a big thing. Whereas like hip hop is this like crazy an honor culture where like, you know, there will be dudes who like are widely suspected of having killed someone.
Interesting.
And they get like a shitload of respect and people talk about them as if they're like a very high value person, which is obviously something that doesn't really exist in most parts of our
it's really
culture.
unusual.
Yeah.
Are you good at fighting?
Nah.
Okay.
No.
Do you think you would be if you had to?
I think I could beat up a lot of people, but I don't really.
Could you beat up everybody in this room?
But okay, that's. I'm not going to get into that. Burly Hurley? Hell no. But I don't know. Like, okay, that's a weird thing though. Is like a bunch of people have like challenged me to duels throughout my time in hip hop, and I always no, I'm not doing it. Like, I'm just not gonna go meet up with you in a parking lot and fight you to like figure out who's the toughest, which I think has probably been like a very good decision overall.
Yeah.
Because once you do it one time, you kind of have to do it over and over and over every time.
You have to do it over and over again.
Well, you just seem kind of like hypocritical if you did it for one guy and then maybe some big ass dude wants to square up in the parking lot and you say no. Because like then you start to get into like a prison attitude, which is basically you have to fight everybody who disrespects you in the slightest bit.
I hadn't thought that through. Yeah. I probably would naively would have accepted a duel if challenged and then, been in over my head.
I mean, that's kind of the thing about the whole gangbanger thing is that you basically have to accept every challenge.
What is a gangbanger thing besides sex?
I would say like most gangs are basically like neighborhoods or organizations that.
Well, I understand what gangs are, but what is gangbanger?
A dude who is in a gang.
Okay. I see. I was homeschooled. I grew up in Idaho.
Right.
I don't. This is like.
So yeah, maybe we should talk about you and not just gangs. Okay, Idaho.
Yeah.
That's where you don't want to be in the Ebonics Miss America pageant, right? You don't want to be Miss Idaho.
Oh.
This is like a really old joke that I just failed at retelling. Have you heard that before?
I've heard people say, "Oh, Idaho, Idaho."
You got to do something with that, right?
And then something potato. Yeah, it's pretty classic.
I feel like Ebonics is not really like a popular term anymore.
I don't
either.
really understand the term.
It's like a language that would be typically associated with black people, right?
Okay, yeah. I think I've only read it and not heard it.
They used to like
loud.
talk about it on the news, like it was like a real thing.
Okay.
Now they call it AAVE.
Okay.
African American vocabulary, something I forget.
Yeah. Okay, I understand now. I'm caught up.
English.
I understand what you're saying.
The E is English.
Okay.
I also don't want to be putting myself out here like I'm totally qualified to talk about black shit.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in Idaho. Me neither.
So, okay, how was that being homeschooled? Do you recommend homeschooling?
Yes.
It was
actually
good.
I mean, my parents' life, I was extremely religious. I was very devout, homeschooled, didn't have access to the outside world, very patriarchal. Like, I was expected to be a housewife child. We weren't allowed to watch media that had depictions of children being rebellious against their parents, so we wouldn't get any crazy ideas. So it was like a super lockdown kind of life. But besides that point, I think like the actual homeschooling was pretty good.
Right.
Mostly because it allows self-direction and a lot of freedom, which I think was great for developing a lifelong appreciation of learning.
Yeah, because I've had people suggest to me like you should homeschool your kid at a certain point, and I'm just like, it just sounds crazy to me because in my mind, your childhood is going through these phases of having to be in groups with other people that you like mostly didn't choose, and then you have to be able to get along with them, and you're going to be around some shitheads and you're going to be around some great kids that you form lifelong friendships with, hopefully. And it just seems kind of crazy to me, the idea of like shielding your kid from that and being so controlling of their environment. That to me would be a hard thing for me to wrap my head around, but that's not really how you think of schooling.
I mean, school is very controlling of environment. So I was homeschooled for all the years except for a couple months when I was 14. And then I tried out school, and I was shocked at how much I was controlled by the environment.
So you thought that you would love going to school. You were like fetishizing it.
No, I wasn't. I think my parents told me that I had to, and I was really upset about it because I knew that you had to get naked in the locker rooms, or like this is a legend that I had heard. Because none of my friends had gone to school
That
either.
was something I was hella scared of by the time I got to the end of elementary school. Is like that was a big difference. Yeah, like you're gonna be naked in that fucking locker room with a bunch of dudes. You're gonna see each other's penises for the first time.
Yeah, and around that point, I hadn't even looked at my vagina. I didn't even know I had a vagina until I was like 11 years old. So
11?
Yeah.
So you just peed and just didn't even wonder what was going on down there?
Yeah, we were told that your genitals are very dirty. You're not supposed to look at them or touch them. And I really took this to heart. And I just didn't know. And then my mom sat me down one day and she was like, you have an extra hole down there, honey. And I was like, "Fucking what?" Except without the swear words, because I didn't know what swear words were.
Right. Wow. See, yeah, that's the fucked up part, dude. That like you're just gonna be able to not even let your kid know that fuck exists.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
It took a long time for me to figure out what swear words were.
My kid's 3 and she's already said f- to me.
Yeah.
But she doesn't know.
Healthier.
She doesn't know what she's saying, and we don't react to it. So then she doesn't repeat it.
Yeah.
But it's a little scary. Like, oh shit, she's gonna figure out that that's like a extra cool word at some point.
Yeah. You gotta go through a phase of saying it a whole lot. I did. I kind of still am not over that phase.
Whenever I listen to a song that prominently features the N-word, and she's around, I fear the day that that's going to come out of her mouth, and I'm going to have a whole talk with her about that.
Yeah. And we're just the F word of 5 decades ago.
Yeah. Wait.
Just the level
F
of
word
taboo.
meaning.
Oh,
okay. So 5 decades ago was like the N-word now?
Yeah, it just meant, I don't know if you ever were around very conservative culture.
Well, that is a good point, because I guess 50 years ago, the N-word was not as big a deal as it is now. It was like kind of freely used too.
Language changes.
It's f***ed up.
But yeah, homeschooling was great. Mainly I went to school and then I took so long to learn anything. Like walking into class, sitting in class, the teacher slowly goes through things. The entire school day I could have done in like maybe 2 hours at home. And I was like, oh my God, all this time is wasted that I could have been done. And what I was doing otherwise was like learning hobbies, teaching myself random skills, learning to unicycle, writing shit tons of fiction, reading books nonstop. And like that, just my opportunity to pursue that and figure out what I actually wanted was completely eviscerated during the couple months I was in public school. And I think that's a kind of a big tragedy. And to be clear, as a homeschooler, we had a bunch of other homeschooled friends. So I was getting socialized like pretty decently as well.
That is a good point, yeah, because I guess either way the kid would be around like, the neighbors and the other, like you would just form friend groups and shit.
Yeah, we had like a weekly, like all the homeschool moms would get together and like teach each other little classes while the kids played.
But the crazy shit about being in a major city is doing the whole private school song and dance. It's like unbelievably competitive and like weird. It's like a pipeline from preschool to kindergarten to elementary to high school, like where you want to get your kid in at an early stage, because being in one of the better private schools for preschool or whatever will help them as time goes by to get into better schools. And it's so unbelievably competitive to get into the best private schools.
Why do you want to be in a best private school?
So my kid doesn't end up huffing nitrous all day with a bunch of
Oh, so it's like preventing them from being exposed to kids who are having nitrous.
Well, just in general, like, I mean, I guess you want to get your kid into the best private schools so that they can get the best education and go to the best college and get the best jobs. And
okay,
it's like, what else are you going to do?
Did you go to college?
Not like that. I went for like I went to 1 year at community college, and I went to UMass Lowell for 1 year, and then I dropped out because I was making money doing credit card scams. And I wanted to move to New York and make BMX videos.
But you want your kids to go to college?
Yeah, if she wants to. For sure, I would like to like have the door open for that. I don't really, there's a lot of stuff that I'm kind of scared about with college and shit, but I mean, what else are they going to do?
What are you scared about with college?
That she's going to get the woke mind virus, dude.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if my kid goes to college and becomes like a Palestinian rebel, then I'm not going to be too stoked. Like, what the fuck? I'm seriously bankrolling this. I'm paying for this shit. She's like in a tent in the front of the school. Okay.
Yeah, I wonder what percentage of the population of that age is into the Palestinian tenting thing. It's like the absolute risk might be kind of low.
Yeah, but they'll have something else by then.
Yeah, probably. But this is such a thing kids do. Were you insane when you were like college age? Were you like an activist about anything?
I used to read like anarchist pamphlets and like thought it was cool to like be homeless and like shoplift and stuff. I didn't actually do it, but I was like reading about it and I thought it was kind of cool. Oh, no, I was vegan. I was like straight edge.
You probably would have been a really weird religious kid. If you had been brought up like hardcore religious, I bet you would have taken the religion and like run pretty far with it.
Yeah, I feel like my whole life was like waiting to be introduced to atheism, because as soon as I got like the smallest little taste of like atheist writings, I was like, that's me. That's 100% me.
That's how I feel about polyamory.
Yeah.
I was like, didn't know polyamory was a thing, and then somebody mentioned it, and I was like, instantly, as soon as I heard the concept, I'm like, that is what I am.
Really? Yeah. See, that to me and my girl is like, we're almost like the face of polyamorous relationships, probably in a lot of people's eyes, or at least one of the faces, just because that whole thing was so viral last year. But we're actually not like that at all. Like, we do it on camera and like never otherwise. And the idea of like me going and spending time with another girl is like totally foreign.
Okay.
Like she would never go for that.
So more like an open relationship kind of thing.
It's more like a content thing.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, a lot of people's brains that doesn't count, right? Like people can't conceive of that as a difference.
But when I was on the whatever pod and I was like, yeah, you know, we're monogamous besides on camera, they like just chose this as like the best dunk they could possibly get on me. It's like, how is that monogamous when your wives get, but it's like what the did I say? And it's like, I don't even have like the patience to have these kind of conversations on camera because it's like so obvious to me that you're like intentionally not understanding what I'm saying because it's so fucking obvious. It's like we're monogamous and then we do other stuff on camera.
Yeah.
And for the most part, that's 99% of our thing. We feel like once in a blue moon, we'll have like an off camera threesome, but never with a dude. That would be
I mean,
tough to wrap my head around.
Yeah. Sounds mostly monog to me.
Yeah. But I don't know. Like, so, okay, you're not in a relationship right now.
Correct.
But if you were in a relationship, it's easy for you to imagine yourself on this is always like the example that gets me. It's a Friday night and I'm going to the club with some random girl while my wife stays home and reads a book. Mm-hmm. And I'm out there getting drunk, having sloppy sex with some random girl. Mm-hmm. You'd be okay being the wife at home reading the book because I don't think my girl's going for that.
Yeah.
See, I don't know. That just is kind of like inhuman to me. I just like it's hard for me to wrap my head around.
What if they were going out with like friends? What if you're not having sloppy sex? You're just spending the same amount of time. You're leaving.
Okay, well, yeah. Let's say I go out with friends and we're in the club and we're having a good time. Yeah. But then let's say that like so I break it to you the next day, like, hey, I f***ed a stripper.
Yeah, I mean...
And you'd just be like, wow, that's great. Let me smell your dick. That's super cool, yeah.
Basically.
Really?
Yeah, sometimes like my boyfriend and I just broke up due to like long-term life plan differences, but our relationship is really good, so makes the breakup very tragic. But he would like have his girlfriend over sometimes when we were hanging out, and like once they like in the couch in front of me, you know. And I'm like, oh, cool, have fun, you guys. Do you want photos? And then I like took photos and then like gave it to the girl so she could have photos.
Like when I hear that though, I think my girl's totally okay with like watching me f*** another girl. It's more just like
if they're gone,
she wants to feel like the alpha female. Like she has a proactive involvement in whatever is going on sexually, and she's not having her spot challenged. Like she got her tits done and wasn't able to shoot for a while, so I had to do a few of the onlyplugtalk.com episodes myself, just like me and other girls, and like me and another guy and another girl and a couple other cases. And all the girls that I shot with were chicks that she's already shot with, that she's friends with, that she's has a trusting relationship with. And it also helps that she's just like seen how I am with girls, and she knows that I don't give a and that I'm just I enjoy the sex part, and I have no real interest in kicking it and picking your brain after.
Yeah.
It's just not what I'm into. I'm like realistically going to go home and play poker and not give a about the girl that I just shot with, you know?
Yeah.
And to her, I feel like that gives her a level of comfort. But in terms of it just being like a real life thing, like the idea of me picking and choosing to spend time with another girl instead of her, I think is the thing that would be very weird for us to get past.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. You want to have some sort of sense of security about your status. And I think I have some degree of this too. Like with my ex-partner, I really wanted to feel like, am I like kind of the number one? And if not, I just need to know so that I can like emotionally adjust to it. It might be kind of hard. Although he started dating this one other girl, and then she and I became really good friends. And then once she and I became super good friends, I was like, I experienced a desire for her to like become like the second primary. I was like, I want us to be both equal sister wives. You know, we can all live together. And it was like really cool to feel my feelings around this shift. And I'm like, oh, is this just like, if I don't feel like I'm in competition with her, if I feel like the Metamora and I are very aligned, like, does that make me okay?
But how long are you seriously going to be on equal level with the other girl and the other dude? It just feels like almost impossible. It's like hard enough in a long-term relationship for a guy and a girl to stay on the same page, but to then introduce another girl into it and to not assume that at some point his interest is not going to be 50-50 between you, it's going to be 70-30. Like, that just feels like that would be so insurmountable.
I mean, it might be painful, but like sometimes pain is just part of life.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but you seem like you don't have like a desire for security in the same way that my wife does, where I feel like to her, knowing that our situation is going to be all right a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now is like a very big deal. And she wouldn't want to introduce a situation that she thought had a high likelihood of fucking everything up.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Maybe like part of my security is like I don't anticipate these kinds of situations would fuck something up.
Right.
And like at least the partner I'm thinking of, I would trust like if he committed like, oh, yes, we're going to do a thing for 3 years at least, I would trust him to hold to that. But I don't know. People have different like mate guarding paranoias, which are, I call paranoias as dismissive. I usually they're justified. Like they're quite evolutionarily beneficial in a lot of ways.
For sure. Okay. I want to go through the timeline here a little bit more. So do you go to college after you're done your...
Like a couple months. So basically not. Yeah.
Why did that not work out?
Not enough money. My parents made like a little bit too much money for me to qualify for financial aid, and they like refused to pay for anything.
Okay.
Or co-sign any loans. So
just because of their financial situation, or were they like objecting to higher education in some way?
No, they're objecting to helping me.
How many kids did you have?
They had 3.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think there's something like you pull yourself up by your bootstraps once you're an adult, like you're on your own in life. You know, it was very kind of like a rough, I mean, I was Calvinist, so it was like kind of this vibe of like, you know, you use your deep willpower to do whatever you need to do to make it by, and you can't rely on anybody else to help you.
So they wanted you to go to college and also work a job and do the whole thing?
I guess, well, I mean, they weren't really, it's like they would say that, but like also they would say things like, well, if you're going to go to college, the purpose is to find a husband so that you can marry him, and then you get a little bit of education in college so that you can homeschool your children.
Wow, so they taught you that from day one, because that's one thing that from day one, me and my girl, like as we saw our kid get into the princesses and realizing like, oh man, like these books basically teach young girls that their value is almost entirely like finding a prince. And that really doesn't sit well with us, because I want to raise a girl that's like self-sufficient and understands that she's, you know, if she's going to get into a relationship, she needs to basically just like have spent the early part of her life bettering herself and becoming a good person, so that a guy would feel lucky to be in a relationship with her, which is like 100% not the lesson you get from a lot of these old Disney stories that are not like intentionally evil, but like Snow White is weird as and I view myself as somebody that like, you know, is probably closer to being okay with like traditional ideas of relationships and shit, but some of the stuff in those Disney books is
yeah.
But your parents like told you like your job in life is to find a man and to be his
and have kids,
backbone and have kids.
Stay-at-home wife. Yeah.
And you never questioned that? Or
I remember being pretty unhappy with it as a kid, which is kind of interesting, right? Because like I sort of have this idea that a lot of things that we're okay with or not okay with are generally cultural. Like a lot of people, maybe they're told they're supposed to be a good housewife, but you know, they go to normal school and they're exposed to, you know, girl boss narratives. But I didn't have girl boss narratives. Like we generally watch media that was only produced like 60s or earlier, because like anything 70s or forward was like a little bit too feminist.
Wow.
And so we were allowed to watch some of it, like SpongeBob, for example. It was fine. But
really? Okay.
Most of my upbringing was spent, like I watched like I Dream of Jeannie and Gilligan's Island and I Love Lucy. Like that was my childhood.
I'm like old enough that we watched those shows because they were just like still kind of relevant.
How old are you?
40.
That's like not that old.
Maybe it was mostly Nick at Night that I was watching. Like, no, but I remember a lot of like Gilligan's Island reruns.
Gilligan's Island was really good.
But I remember watching Nick at Night, and it would have Mr. Ed.
Yeah.
The talking horse.
The horse, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
Like the shit that it was on Nick at Night is like ancient in comparison to like the shit that kids are watching now.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
All right, I wonder, do they even have Nick at Night?
I don't know.
There's got to be something on there.
Yeah, I was told stuff like women are more emotional. There was a debate over whether or not women should have the right to vote. And I was like kind of leaning on like maybe women shouldn't be allowed to vote. Like women were considered to be like sort of weaker and like designed to be submissive. We were supposed to be women to men as men were to God.
Do you resent your parents for putting that shit in your head?
like a little bit yes and no. Like, one, I don't have resentment for parents doing what they think is best. Like, if you
Right.
really love your child but you're just misguided, I'm like, it sucks you're misguided, but I can tell it comes from a place of love.
Right.
There were other parts my parents did that was like extremely that felt like it came from a place of like desiring to feel like you're controlling another person, and I have less empathy for that part.
Really? Like
Yeah.
what?
We used the Growing Kids God's Way system, which is like an extremely strict and really controlling way of upbringing children. Like, they started out with like, you physically hit babies if they cry from
Wow.
if the cry seems to be defiant, right? So like, kids are sinners, and you're supposed to.
Where do you hit the kid?
Well, so if they're a baby, you slap them on the arms, and as soon as they graduate to toddlerhood, that you have a strip of like rough leather that you would use to hit them. And
Even in the short term, though, if you hit the kid's gonna make them cry more, right? Like, that's one thing I learned with the kid is that you can never like escalate tensions. You got to always like try to.
right, but this is if you usually punish them if they're like get mad about something that you told them to do. You know?
Okay.
So you're supposed to go right away, all the way, and with a happy spirit. It was like the song we had to do about obedience. So you had to be
Jesus.
happy when you obeyed, and if you were not happy when you obeyed, you would get like, you know, spanked. And the spankings were not fun. This isn't like cute people hitting somebody's butt. You'd be like, stop that, Jason, or whatever. It was like a piece of leather, and we had a rule that if we screamed too loud to alert the neighbors, we would get like another one.
Wow.
So the goal was to like break your child's spirit, or like change their heart, get through to their heart. They have to deeply want to be regretful about their actions.
Basically, just scare the fuck out of them and traumatize them to the point that they won't do the thing again.
Yeah, basically. I mean, if you're in sufficient pain, then your mind is going to eventually shift to like become the kind of person that minimizes that amount of pain.
See, I worry because I could never in a million years imagine hitting my daughter no matter what. If I have a son, I could never imagine hitting him until he starts to feel like a dude. And like, once he becomes a dude, then it's like, I just feel like as a dude, sometimes you got to let another dude know what it is. And it's like, if you're a little too rebellious with me, or you're like a little too disrespectful, and you're like a 16-year-old boy,
He's got to know about the hierarchy.
for sure, I'm going to slap the shit out of you at some point. Yeah. Like, I don't know. Maybe 16 will feel so young that I couldn't do it. But like, once he becomes a man.
Well, if he beats you up.
Well, I didn't even think about that.
By that point, you're probably going
that's
to
a
be
problem,
older and
yeah.
weaker and...
I know, right? Because I remember my dad like beating my ass for like a good chunk of my childhood, but then like around like 18, it was like, and I never beat his ass, but I would like grab his wrists and just be like, no, like this ain't happening. Like,
Yeah.
And I sometimes regret that. I sometimes feel like I should have knocked him out once.
Well, maybe your kid will knock you out.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. I'm just kind of imagining it'll be like a bitch, but
Well, is your wife girthy?
no, she's tiny.
Okay, well, then maybe your kid will be tiny then.
My daughter's very tall.
Oh, well, then maybe you're fucked.
So that is weird to think
Yeah.
like, oh my God, she's gonna be like a WNBA chick. Like, what if she has high testosterone at some point?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay, so college sucked, and you dropped out to do what?
I worked at a factory, on a factory floor.
In Idaho.
Yeah, assembling electrical relays for a year.
And what did you think of this time? Like, we're
Not fun. I
didn't
don't
like it?
recommend. It really sucked. Really fucking sucked. I mean, I was waking up before the sun and then going to bed. The sun goes down, and I was drinking a lot because it's like you're just trying to de-stress after that. And it's weird that other people seem to not have that bad a time with it. I would go around and my coworkers would be like, yep, this is life. This is my 10th year on the job. And I'd be like, I just was so dissatisfied with that. I'm like, I don't want to spend my life doing this. But I didn't know any other way. Like, again, homeschooler in Idaho, isolated from normal culture. Like, I did not have a concept of any way to climb through the world. This was just really alien to me. So I'm like, in my mind, the thing that you do to become successful is you work really hard at a factory floor, and maybe they promote you in 5 years, and then you get like a $1 raise.
So your parents never introduced you to the concept of having like ambition to become something bigger?
No, I was supposed to be a housewife.
Right. But then how are you going to meet a dude when you're just living this normal ass existence?
Well, you go briefly to college and find some sweet Christian man doing some basic ass job.
So you were in a relationship at this time when you're working in the factory?
Yeah, I was. At this point, I wasn't Christian anymore, though.
Oh, when did you ditch that? And how did
Like right
parents-
before I turned 19.
How'd they feel about it?
not great. I mean, it sucks if you genuinely believe your child's going to burn in hell for eternity.
Yeah.
Like that is pretty sad from their perspective.
It's weird for me because my girl's sister is very religious and her kids go to church every Sunday. And my kid doesn't even know what church is yet. And at some point, my kid is going to figure out that I think this whole church thing is goofy as f***, and that I think that this whole God thing is a joke. Mm-hmm. And I imagine that being kind of weird because kids are not good at keeping secrets. So I can imagine that at some point. It's
is it a secret to your sister-in-law that you think church is goofy?
I just don't want my kid to like tell her cousins.
Why
like,
not?
Oh, like you guys like Jesus and shit. And my dad thinks that shit's dumb as f***. Like, I just feel like I don't want her to have that conversation with her cousins, but probably at some point.
But why don't you want this?
Because she's like 3.5. But like maybe she's like 12.
And it'll be like confusing for her at 3.
I just don't want her to be like involved or like arguing with her cousins about religion in general. It just feels like at some point it's going to become kind of obvious to her of like, oh, my parents are like 100% not into this thing that's like super important to your cousins.
Yeah.
And I just imagine that being a little bit of a collision at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what growing up is. It's a series of uncomfortable collisions.
And I'm going to have to totally sugarcoat my views on religion to my kid for a substantial amount of time. I'm so negative towards religion that I just don't think it's like, it's too much for a kid to understand.
Why is it too much?
Well, imagine telling her that like, hey, there's another religion that's even worse than the one that your cousins are.
Why not?
Because she's too little to understand. Like, I don't want her to
She'll
like
be confused.
Yeah,
about what you mean.
It's too much.
You keep saying too much.
I think you got to like stagger what you teach your kid about. Like, you just don't want your kid to be like fully armed with all this information at a young age, right?
I mean, you could say something like, well, your dad believes this. You could disagree with me.
Yeah,
Might
for
take a
sure
while
I'm
to,
going
like,
to say
figure
that,
that out.
but I don't know if I agree with that. Because I think if my kid like is into God, that I'm going to be like, yo, you know you're f***ing up, right? Like, you know that shit's bullshit, right?
this is
Like,
fair.
I'm not going to just let that go.
All right, if you genuinely don't want her to believe things that are different from you, then this does sound like it would cause more conflict.
Well, I mean, you got to give them like a base to start from, right?
I mean, ideally, the base should be like curiosity. Like, hey, here are the tools that we use to make sense of the world, and you're I would like to teach you good tools, and you might use those to arrive at different conclusions. But I just want you to be using the good tools.
What if your kid gets into like Holocaust denialism real early?
Then
You got to coax them out of that foxhole,
well,
right?
but okay. I know this sounds insane, but like there are reasons people believe in same things, and if you try and just shame the thing out of them, it's not going to like deeply update them.
Definitely don't shame. Yeah.
Yeah, so it should be like, okay, so why do you believe in Holocaust denial? Let's explore
in the
that.
words of our Lord and Savior Taylor Swift, shame never made anybody less gay.
Oh, that's good. Yeah,
Which I also disagree with, because I think there's probably a whole shitload of people out there that
they'll behave less gay.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, but then what is gay truly?
Not really like the best way to accomplish that, yeah. She is our Lord and Savior. Wait, okay, what were you saying before I did the weird Taylor
remember.
Swift segue?
I also don't really know much about Taylor Swift.
Really? Wow,
Yeah.
you're missing out. That's like the tie that binds all white women together right now.
Ah, I see.
My wife went to Vienna to see the Eras tour because it's not coming back to America. Mm-hmm. And ISIS, they picked up 3 ISIS combatants who were planning a bombing. And so she did not
Wait,
get to
who's
see.
they? Like the government?
Oh, well, yeah, the Austrian government.
Okay.
In coordination with the
And then
Secret
they're like,
Service,
I
I
can't see
believe.
Taylor Swift.
I believe we supplied the information about these guys. But then these concerts didn't happen.
Wow.
So she went all the way to Vienna, and ISIS got in the way of her seeing her hero.
I see. It's like the anti of the white woman.
Yeah. I mean, ISIS, they just kind of like latch on to like whatever's going on in pop culture, I think. You know, they just want to like attach themselves to some viral shit.
Yeah, that makes sense. Good PR.
But Taylor Swift didn't even issue a statement about it, really, because she didn't want to like...
Yeah, it makes sense. You don't want to feed...
Even Taylor Swift's is scared shitless of ISIS.
Like, I mean, even if it's not fair, it's you just don't want to like give people more attention to latch onto. If you react in any way to like an insane stalker.
I just want to live in a world in which Taylor Swift can say, like, on stage, hey, ISIS! That'd be so sick.
That would be nice.
That would be so badass. But yeah, she would for sure have a target on her head after that.
Yeah.
That's some chicken shit.
I feel like ISIS is used to people saying "F them," though. It's not like more generic, like you can't draw Muhammad type stuff. That'll definitely get you killed.
Yeah, and that's up too.
Yeah, I agree.
But hey, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, me neither.
Which is kind of bitch made.
Yeah.
Because I think everybody should have every right to do so. But
Yeah.
I don't really want the smoke, I don't want to get salmon rushtied.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Gotta have a line somewhere. I feel like I'm very bold online. I say a bunch of like weird, insane shit, but there's definitely like ultimately some lines where I'm like, if I get killed for saying this, I'm just not gonna.
Right. No, yeah, I heard about that dude trying to kill you. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And so he's locked up now?
Well, he's out now. He was locked up.
Really? You don't have a gun?
I can neither confirm nor deny my ownership of guns.
I think we need to arm women.
I agree. Yeah, when people are like, "Oh, we shouldn't have guns," I'm like,
Women.
"Have you
need
never
guns.
been in a situation where you need one?"
And if not guns, like pepper spray, knives.
Knives seem
I
like
am almost never without a
they
weapon.
backfire. And isn't there a saying like there's no winner in a knife fight?
Man, I got some good videos I could show you at the chicken shops in London.
Okay.
So they just like they hit the overhand, like you'll see the dudes just going like this, just aiming right for the fucking jugular.
Yeah.
And if they get you right, you'll bleed out in like 10 seconds. It's crazy.
Would you ever like imagine you'd be a warlord in like Mongolia if you'd been born there? Because you kind of strike me as like high risk taking,
See,
like procreate a lot, but like not that you're not the father, but like I could see you just like having a harem or something.
for sure, I think I could have got into whatever fucked up criminal behavior I got introduced to at a young age. Because I remember somebody suggested to me when I was like 19 or 20, like, yo, like, yeah, I know this dude and he'll give you like 10 or 15,000 or whatever to like drive a car to Montreal, like drive over the border with like the car stuffed full of X pills. And I remember my reaction being like, oh, yeah, I'll do that. Like, oh, for sure, 10 grand, I will do that for sure. And when I think about that as a grown man, I'm just like, holy shit, like you were just born to be a crash dummy if you were just down to do like any dumbass scheme that got put in front of you. So I feel very lucky that I got introduced to shit like BMX bikes and hardcore music and shit at a young age that was like gave me some danger and like sense of like thrill. But sometimes I'll be interviewing dudes and they'll just be like, yeah. And then like when I was 15, I met this like older dude and he did meth and he like gave me a gun and like told me to go rob somebody. And like that just kind of became my thing after that. And I'm like, oh shit, that's
So you're pretty close.
for sure. Like if somebody had introduced me to that, I grew up in an area with no gangs. There's like one like Dominican gang, but like white dudes not really known for their gang banging. And well, the ones that I was around in New Hampshire, at least.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think of New Hampshire as something that has gangs.
For sure they're out there, but they're not,
Okay.
probably not really like measuring up to the Crips. I feel like white dudes don't really get into their gangster shit until they like hit prison and then, or jail even. And then that kind of like,
You can actually keep like dropping references to things where I'm like, if I wanted to deeply understand the thing that you just said, I need to unpack quite a lot.
Right.
Like I feel like a little bit like I'm on a movie set.
I'm that captivating.
You're that like alien or something.
Well, I just know about a lot
Wait,
of
you're
weird shit.
alien in some ways, but not alien in others. Like you seem low class to me. Which
Hell yeah. No,
to be
I'm
clear-
not, I can't deny that.
to be clear,
at all.
I am low class. Like
Okay.
Like I think there's something where it's like a lot of the folks I hang around these days, it's like, oh, I grew up and then my parents paid for my Ivy League education and now I'm a doctor.
Right.
Right. And there's a way where you clearly have a lot of life experience that is not common to people of this class. And I'm like very different from you. I don't even know how gangs work or anything. But I also have this sense of alienation from like upper classes in that people will talk very casually about getting an academic grant. And I'm like, what is that? Right. So there's a way where I feel like simultaneously kind of alien from you, but also like not. I don't know.
Wow. I'm a trip, ain't I? That's
Indeed.
crazy.
Indeed. It's very unusual.
Wow. Thank you. Yeah. I never, I don't know. The people I grew up around, probably a huge percentage of them thought that they would do at least some college, but there definitely wasn't this idea of like you're gonna go to like the top notch college, whereas like a lot of the parents that I'm around now, that's very much the expectation.
Which is cool. It means you've like climbed in class, right?
Yeah, which is weird, but it's like I got there in a scummy way by doing porn and interviewing rappers.
Yeah, it's very. Yeah, I have a very similar like a sense of strangeness. Like sometimes I'm in these groups and I'm like, I'm the only person who got here from doing a very low class thing, because normally you don't climb ranks by doing a low class thing very well.
Right. No, yeah, that doesn't usually happen. And sometimes it's weird. I like tried to explain this the other day to one of my co-hosts, this dude, Brick Baby, of the Rollin' 60s neighborhood Crips. He's a nice guy, don't worry. But I got to hype him up like that, just so you know that he's like a real deal.
Okay, but those words mean nothing to me.
Okay.
Okay, I know that Crips is a reference to a gang.
A gang.
So he was a member of this gang.
He was and is, yeah.
In the past.
Well, okay, sure.
But he was a successful member of this gang?
I would say he had some success.
Like what percentile? Was he like a mob boss?
No, it's not like that.
Okay.
It's just kind of like everybody is this thing. And like, yeah, there's some people that are like revered and have power, but it's not like...
But he's like mid-range.
It's not super
It's like a mid-range
formal.
Crip.
Well, I wouldn't say that he... Yeah, I mean, he's not like out here trying to be king of the Crips or anything.
Okay.
But I told him that as much as I'm the square guy in the room when I'm around him and a lot of the other guys that he hangs out with and people that we interview and shit. But when I'm in the private school arena, for sure, I was the sketchy, grizzly, weird white guy that like obviously has like, you know, because a lot of the people I'm around, like they work in like TV and shit. It's like just an environment
so you know the feeling
where you got to wear khakis to work. I assume. I don't.
Do you wear khakis?
From time to time, I guess. If I had some khakis, I would rock it. Yeah, but I just kind of wear the same pants over and over. And I'll post like 15 photos of like 15 different interviews I did, and I'll be wearing the same pants in every single picture, and people will make fun of me.
Oh, okay.
But I really feel like I can wear the same pair of pants for like
I have the same
months.
I just wore the same dress for approximately 8 days before I got here.
A dress? Exactly. It's not even making contact with your vagina.
I know. I switched out the underpants, so.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you got to do. Yeah.
Yeah, basically. It was pretty stinky, though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just not a person that like really cares that much about staying clean in between going out in public.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm around the crib, like if I get home from work Friday night, there is a decent chance that if we don't go out and do anything, if we don't go to dinner or we don't go like, you know, meet up with another family to hang out or whatever, I might not take a shower until like Monday morning or like Sunday morning.
Okay, so just for why am I here?
I don't know. Actually, you want to know what's funny is like there's a dude who's like a No Jumper fan, and he just always suggests people for me to interview, and I think he pitched me like, hey, you should interview this person, and he like sent me a bunch of info and stuff, and I was like, yeah, fuck it, let's do it.
Okay, did he include the fact that I'm somewhat famous for not showering?
He did mention that.
Okay.
I just want to
check if there was like pre-existing.
So, okay, where does that come from? Was that something you were brought up with?
No.
I'm glad we can bond over this because
because dude, I get so much shit for not showering, and then
I don't think it's a big deal.
It really isn't.
And you seem like there's a bunch of like white celebrities and shit in the news for not showering and like talking about how, who was it? Do you remember? I forget. It was like some movie star that like they don't shower, like they don't think it's
more common than you think, but nobody says it out loud because everybody makes fun of you.
I think I could probably Google this. Celebrity doesn't
Jake Gyllenhaal?
shower. Jake Gyllenhaal.
That's what popped up for me.
That is the first one that pops up. And then Brad Pitt, Ashton Kutcher, Dax Shepard. He's like the most famous white man in the world. Yeah, Ashton Kutcher, Mila Kunis. I mean, these are some fly fucking white people. I mean, I'm not mad at being in their league. I don't know any of them.
How often do you shower?
Honestly, I shower every time I come to do the podcast or every time I go to do porn. It's a very important part of my morning ritual. Like I work out in the morning, I eat breakfast, I shower, then I go to work. But if for whatever reason I'm just sitting around the house all day, if I'm just going to be on the computer answering emails, I don't feel the need to take a shower. And that apparently is like shocking to some people. Also, I don't shower before bed. I shower in the morning, but I don't shower before bed. And some people find this very shocking, like, oh, you shouldn't want to get the bed dirty. I'm like, I don't feel like I'm that.
I understand what is dirty. It's just skin and like a tiny bit of skin oil. Like this is not gross. I do not understand people's disgust responses.
My housekeeper is changing the sheets like once a week, maybe more. I don't even know. I have no clue how often she changes the sheets, but it seems sufficient.
Yeah.
I don't get into the bed and feel like, ugh, oily, gross.
Yeah, right. Maybe it's psychological for some people. I wonder if it's placebo. If people like just kind of feel gross, but I don't know. I feel like skin is good at protecting itself or something, and I have better skin when I don't shower all the time.
I think that a lot of people have this weird, like they believe that they are the kind of person who showers a lot, and they just have to fulfill that they just believe that this is so important. To me, it's a sign that you are not busy enough, because to me, I think showering probably takes me 15 minutes in total, which is not that much, but it's like, there's a lot of other things I want to be doing.
Yeah, it's also boring and annoying, and it feels bad.
Yeah. You're using the shampoo, and then you got to buy more at some point. I realize it's almost $0 per shower, but it still just feels, I don't know. I just don't really, unless I'm going to be having sex or like doing the podcast. But then also, like one time, my house flooded. It rained really bad, and our driveway filled, and the house flooded and stuff. And I had to come in here and do a podcast without showering. And the people dropped comments. They could tell. Which seems weird to me. I feel like you should not be able to tell that.
Okay, I've also stopped using soap on my body, except for my butthole.
Okay.
But my theory is when I use soap, it makes me smell worse afterwards.
Really?
So what I do is I just use a wet washcloth. I like scrub my armpits really hard, and then I use like this like silver thing, which helps like prevent bacteria formation, and it makes me smell much better. Like it makes me go much longer before I start getting stinky and needing a shower.
I'm gonna be honest, like I've put so little thought into the soap and shampoo that I use in my day-to-day life. And like right now, the deodorant that I'm using is like, do you know who Jake Paul is?
Yeah.
He's a YouTuber. He started like a brand called like W or some shit. Okay. And like they sent me like some deodorant in the mail, and I've been using it. And I honestly, it's kind of like dry and chalky, and it doesn't really feel anywhere near as good as the Old Spice that I was using previously. But I'm still just using it because I just don't even really care.
Yeah, I don't think it matters that much.
I could be a no deodorant guy. Honestly, a couple of girls in the porn industry, like the hottest chicks, don't wear deodorant.
I think I kind of, after a lot of my friends don't shower that much either, and I don't think we're particularly stinky, but occasionally you get like more whiffs of like what somebody actually smells like, and it's starting to grow on me. I'm like, oh wait, if I'm around this a lot, I'm starting to really enjoy it and getting a lot of information from these scents. And so I'm sad that we're sort of missing out on this culturally.
I can think of 2 porn stars I've had sex with, and one girl back in the day in Brooklyn who was just such a hipster weirdo that she didn't shower. And it is weird because it's like, for sure, if you're f***ing for like 15 minutes, you're going to think about it probably like within every minute. You're going to think about that scent that's hitting your nose.
You're thinking about her. Oh, yeah.
Like that shit stinks. And it also like, I don't know, I associate it with like dirty vagina. Oh, you got the hairy armpits too.
Yeah.
Okay. How's that going?
I don't think I'm stinky right now. Can you smell me from there? What is that?
Can I smell it? No, I can't smell it from over here.
Okay. Just checking.
No. But look at all. But I feel like look at that Jake Paul deodorant on there.
I see. I think, does mine not look like that too? I put a whole bunch. Whatever.
People are gonna like think of us as just being like the definition of just weird white people for just talking, like spending this much time talking down on showering. I feel like within the black community, anytime I say anything about how I don't find showering that captivating, it's just 100% disgust. Like absolute horror.
We're at the forefront of a movement, and horror is what you expect when you are the flag bearers
Stank
for what
ass
will
lives
eventually
matter.
Take over culture. I bet you in like 50 years, assuming that we live that long and don't all die in a horrific apocalypse, that we're going to see a grand cultural acceptance of showering less.
But the thing is that like corporations are so incentivized to like sell us on the notion that we need these chemicals and products to make ourselves smell good.
Yeah, this is true.
I know fully grown ass men with like facial care routines, zesty facial routines.
Okay, zesty's not spicy. Zesty is
just
homosexual.
Gay-ish.
Okay.
Yeah, gay adjacent. Like just to me as a person who's never even really thought about what I'm washing my face with. Like I ran out of face soap and I've just been using like the kids like all-in-one body soap or whatever. I've just been using that because I just don't.
Do you have really low neuroticism?
Describe that.
Like, like on the Big Five, you know, the Ocean personality test?
No.
Okay, Ocean is it's one of the best replicated personality tests out there. So if you're going to like learn about yourself, you should probably use that one.
Okay.
But one of the factors is neuroticism, which is basically how responsive are you to negative stimuli?
I feel like I'm completely oblivious to it at this point.
So low neuroticism, probably.
I've been too destroyed in the media by social media. At this point, I just feel like I'm probably like top 1% of not giving a what people say about me, which is...
I bet it's correlated to not showering and using whatever 3-in-1 deodorant. Like whatever psychological trait you have that's like, whatever, people are saying bullshit about me, is probably like, whatever, I don't care what deodorant I use on my armpits.
Yeah, ambivalent. That does kind of feel like I relate to that.
Yeah. I'm also pretty low neuroticism. I have a theory that like people who are very promiscuous are bimodal in neuroticism, meaning basically that like they tend to either be very neurotic or not neurotic at all. I don't know if this is true.
That's interesting.
I could probably test it, actually. I have the data on it, but I haven't looked at it yet.
I mean, I do think that like, okay, there's two different like personas that like a female porn star or sex worker can take on, which is basically like, I don't give a like I'll let almost anyone and I feel like this is kind of, I've heard you say stuff like this, is like I like just new people. And then like there's other porn star chicks where the persona is more like I'm only high value men, and you see this where it's like on one side you have girls that are doing a fan contests and basically lying on their social media, acting as if like, oh, I went to the club and I brought home 5 guys and these random dudes. And then you have other girls that their brand is strictly like these high value BBC dudes.
Okay, but my theory is I'm somewhere in the middle here. Like, my theory is that like a female brain typically has like 2 brains. One is the horny brain, like the thing that's like the equivalent to what men have. And then you have like the lady brain, which is being like, hey, no, honey, don't do that. Is he high value enough? You know, it's the thing that makes you not want to get pregnant with a horrible man's baby. You know, people without lady brain died out. So you have these 2 brains. And then like some people have like different strengths of each one. And I think I have like quite a high lady brain. The part of my brain that like tries to filter who I have sex with is very strong. I just am like unusually good at developing unusual scenarios that get around my lady brain.
Okay.
Like I probably wouldn't have casual sex with most people, but if I structure some sort of world, for example, a default consent orgy where everybody who arrives wears wristbands that indicate default consent, or like a CNC orgy, so I run a series of these, and these are really effective for me having sex with a lot of people. But I have to have this elaborate structure. Or like escorting is great for me because if somebody's paying me sufficient money, it's like bribing my lady brain to like go away and sit down. It's like, oh, we have like sufficiently made this man jump through some sort of abstract hoop.
But so you're escorting and like some 400-pound micro penis dude shows up.
Yeah, I don't mind.
You actually don't mind? You're not like when I see this dude, now I'm going to picture the female version of this. I feel repulsed looking at them.
Yeah, I don't think I have that.
At all?
Like,
there's no man that you could be repulsed by his naked body.
No, but I also have a weird thing where I have like a disgust fetish for gross men, but it's a little bit separate. But definitely a lot of my fantasies involve like a horrific, like disgusting guy, you know, like having sex with me against my will. I think it's very hot.
Whoa, really?
So it does help. But also I don't actually experience disgust. Most of the unpleasant clients I have sex with are not unpleasant or don't actually disgust me enough to trigger that fetish. I don't know. It's just a person.
You think your Overton window of like who you're willing to be attracted to is just pretty big?
Yeah. Well, I don't have to be attracted to clients to have sex with them. I like most of them.
A lot of male porn stars I've heard say the same thing, which is basically like, I can always find something to be attracted to. Whether it's like, you know, when you're bent over and your ass has like spread out enough that you can't see the cellulite
only
ripples.
A hole now.
It's like the smoothness of the skin, or like she has pretty eyes, or you know, her breast implants feel good when you squeeze them. That'll let me power through this.
This is probably different for men than women, right? Because like as a guy, you have to have a hard on.
Yeah. Imagine summoning a hard on when you're not attracted at all to the person.
Way harder to have sex with an escort if I had to have a hard penis.
I don't know the true extent of it, but for sure a lot of dudes are shooting up their dicks. This is what I hear.
Now, are you talking injection or just like taking Viagra?
No, I'm talking there's like this weird thing. I forget what it's called, but you like prick your dick with it and it'll make you have like a rock hard
Yeah, I did have one
erection.
client, very old, and he had like prostate cancer or something, so he had to use that. Yeah.
Yeah, like one day last year I interviewed a male porn star who was telling me all about it, and then I interviewed like a 65-year-old bank robber who told me he used it. And it's like it's intended for the 65-year-old dude who can't get hard without it, but then male porn stars are doing it because it
Oh, wow.
makes their job extremely easy in comparison. But I feel like if you do it a lot, you're gonna like basically like burn out your own ability to get hard on your own, right? And dudes say that about Viagra and shit too. That when you take a lot of it, it just becomes difficult to get hard without it.
Huh, I didn't know this was the case. It was good to know.
I know dudes who carry Viagra around at all times because there's no chance of them getting hard without it. I only ever took it once. Not even Viagra, some other random version.
Cialis or something?
It wasn't. It was a different brand name. It was just like a sponsor we had or whatever. I only took it one time. It's shit fucking crazy. Like nuts. Like my dick was so hard for like 24 hours.
You look like you've seen war.
That's how I felt off that dick pill. And after I shot the scene with the dick, it was because I had to shoot 2 plug talk scenes in a day. And the second one, I wasn't feeling like my dick was going to be, like I felt like I could probably get through it, but I felt like, let me just take this pill that will make me a monster. And then I had to do like a 3-hour interview with a rapper named FBG Buddha after that.
Can you say that name again?
FBG Buddha.
Okay.
He's from like a crew called FBG, and then his name is Buddha.
Okay.
Anyway, I had to do a 3-hour interview with him while the fucking dick pill was still just coursing through my veins.
Did he notice? Did you tell him? Did you show it to him?
I think I didn't tell him until after. Okay. No, he's not the kind of guy you'd want to show your to.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He might, just kidding, Buddha. Yeah. Okay, where were we?
I don't know.
Dude, I got high before this interview too.
Yeah?
This was always a weird decision
On
for
what?
me. Kush, weed. Just smokes weed.
Are you currently high?
Yeah, a little bit. Not like crazy, but
Yeah. Is it making your thoughts more varied?
it's making me think that things are funnier than I would normally think they
Oh,
were.
that's lovely.
Yeah, like
I think I'm like not very good at humor, so
Really?
I like it when people like throw me a snort, a chortle.
a snort. Mm-hmm. Do you play any of the New York Times games on a daily basis?
I do not.
I subscribe, and there's this game called Connections, and there's like just all these words. Let me show you, and you have to like sort them together, and it's very. You have to like think about sort of like abstract connections between these words. I wish I could show this to the people out there. Actually, I will screenshot it and send it to Donnie. But like, okay, we're gonna put this on screen.
4 groups of 4?
I want to know what your first guess is.
Wait, so you have to like things.
These are gonna be in categories together of like different things.
do I-
And a lot of, if you tap it, it'll turn a different color. But don't press enter because I want to know what your first guess is. I feel like
Wait, I don't. Okay, so I have to create 4 groups of 4. Do I just click 4?
no,
and then-
you're trying to create one group to start. So you're trying to find
Okay,
4
so,
things
like-
that you think are connected.
Monkey bars and is tetherball a thing you find on playgrounds?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna do that, and I click submit.
Ah. Oh, okay.
Was I not supposed to
I
do
want
that?
to screenshot it for the people just to see where they would go with this. Actually, there's no way for me to like figure out what the actual answer is right now, besides me actually doing it myself. But like, okay, I guess I owe them one guess myself as well. Oh, for sure, monkey bars, tetherball, teeter totter, swings.
Was there a teeter totter on there?
Yeah. Oh, but it says 1 away. So one of these is. Oh, slide. Monkey.
That should have been teeter totter. And then
Which
slide,
one of
yeah.
these should I remove?
Well-
I'm going to remove monkey bars because that's more of a gymnastics thing and not a playground thing.
Well, tetherball, I think, is not
For sure, there's tetherball on
a playground.
a playground.
I didn't go to school.
I know, I can
don't know if
tell
they have them
because
there.
fucking everybody else out there right now. Oh my God, that's not it either.
Wait, let me see. Are you just
Like, that's what I just guessed.
Okay, I think it's gonna be. And then where did the there we go. Oh wait, so there's only one.
Oh, you did it.
Yeah, see, I think it's not
Teeter-totter,
tetherball.
swings, slide, monkey
Tetherball
bars.
is a game as opposed to like a static thing.
But okay, like the tetherball pole would be the example, but that would have been cumbersome for them to list it that way. That's fun though, right? I do that most
Okay,
days.
cool.
I do they got me, dude, because like I just got into playing Wordle every day.
Yeah.
I currently have like a 98-day Wordle streak, and my best Wordle streak prior was 110 days, and I don't even know how I f***ed it up. Do you know what Wordle is?
You got Wordle for 110 days?
In a row, yeah.
That's really impressive.
I was playing in the World Series of Poker, and this dude told me that he had like a 400-day streak, and I was just like, "Oh, I didn't know you could have a streak." So I was like, "Oh my god, now I got that sounds like my kind of thing."
I was just distracted by you playing poker.
Yeah, it's just like I feel like because all right, I'm getting old. So like the BMX bike thing, that's kind of in the past. It's like I'm not really spending time doing that. It just doesn't really appeal to me the way it used to. But people are always trying to get me to play golf or whatever, and I'm
It's like basically giving up.
I don't want to play golf because you know what? I'm never going to be great at golf. I'm probably not even going to be sufficient at golf, in my opinion. I just don't see it being the kind of thing that I would be good at. But with poker, I can see myself as the years go by getting better and better, and I feel like I could get to the point where I feel like to a certain extent, I'm already like I have the respect of a lot of like pro players and stuff who look at me as somebody who's like put in a sufficient amount of work, and I'm like, I've gotten solid. I don't want to like hype myself up too much, but I feel like I'm decent, and they see me that way, and I feel like I've worked really hard to get to that point. And poker is the kind of thing where it's like you cannot be a pro and compete against the pros, and in fact the pros want to compete against you because long term they're going to take all your money. But I think that's poker just does it for me. But here's the problem. I saw a list the other day of like most attractive to least attractive hobbies.
Yeah, I think it was
men.
a fake list, but
Probably, yeah.
I'm trying to replicate this in a survey. So
some of the things on it looked stupid and out of place to me, so I'm in favor of that being a fake list. But it did say that video games was at the very top of the list, and that's very easy for me to imagine.
as in being unattractive.
Yeah, and online
That seems
poker
correct.
is basically like a video game.
And
You're
you
sitting
can
in
make
front of
money
your computer.
poker. I don't know.
Which is better than, but people make money playing other games too, to certain extents, especially by streaming and shit like that. But like my wife, I think, would be much more attracted to me if I went and rode bikes for the day or went hiking with the guys. I don't even know any guys who go hiking or did any kind of like outdoor activity. Whereas like me spending 12 hours playing poker tournaments on a Sunday, I don't think that's like impressive
This
to
is
her.
so funny because like in my culture, my sphere of friends, I would say that poker is like the bad boy version of everything.
For sure.
Like
yeah.
that's like sort of like the edgy, people like doing cool, crazy shit.
I think she knows enough about the culture of poker that she knows that it's not really like that, and it's actually very like technical and mathematical.
Yeah, I mean it is. But that's why it's.
The dudes who excel at poker are 0% bad boy. They're all just nerds who are really, really good at this complicated strategy
but
game.
you have to compare it to my culture. Like my culture, like a lot of the people I know are like machine learning engineers and programmers.
Right. But I think those actually are the kind of people who
excel. Yeah.
Who do well at poker, because it is like, yeah, there are like gambler type dudes, and you'll have like rich businessmen who like get into poker and they love donking off a couple $100,000 in a night or whatever. But like most of the dudes who are like really great at poker are like full on like body biohacker type nerds who are trying to optimize every single part of their life. And like the thing that separates like a decent poker player from a great poker player in this day and age is largely like the amount of time that you spent staring at charts that break down the optimal play in extremely complicated situations.
But let me argue this. So if you're like a super nerd who's like very smart and you have like enough money to start and time to start playing poker, you're probably, that demographic is the kind that like goes to fancy colleges and gets respectable jobs and like works as a high paid engineer at Google. And like usually you have like maybe parents that are overbearing and expect you to do something like sensible with your life. And so like,
okay, poker is rebellious in
so
that
compared
sense,
to this, poker is like gambling. This is like fuck you, mom and dad. I'm going to go use my nerdy smarts that you expect me to do something normal with, and then like go to this insane thing where I'm like maybe wasting my money.
But that's the weird thing, is that like that fantasy was so intact 20 years ago when online poker was still legal in America, and people were like newly learning about like the World Series of Poker and all these cool things, and there was all these like heroes that were created by like ESPN, and then 2009, I believe they outlawed it in America. So now if you want to play poker in America, you have to either VPN onto a Euro site, or you have to like play on an unregulated site, which is what I do. And and then also just the introduction of these solvers, and like that basically can break down the exact technical correct play. That kind of took it away from this like idea that you could just be this like bad boy and make a living doing this, to the point where now it's like very well understood that you basically have to be a giant nerd.
Basically solved, yeah.
Yeah, that kind of changed the whole game. Once it became like, oh, look at his play style, look at how he's doing things, he's creative, he's different, he's aggressive, to like, no, there's one correct way to do this. That changed things a lot. That's what I'm doing after this. I'm going to play on this live stream at the Hustler Casino.
Oh, cool.
They stuck me with a bunch of dudes who are very, very good.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
I feel like I'm the spot. I'm the one who's going to be taken advantage of, but whatever.
Do you have like a list of things about me that you were planning to ask?
I did have a few other things, yeah.
I was just curious if you have it like structured out beforehand, or if you just sort of remember it.
Like with you, as soon as I started watching your shit, I was like, we can just have a good off-the-cuff conversation talking about whatever. So I only wrote down a few things.
But some people you watch and you're like, we can't have an off-the-conversation cuff. I have to plan.
Yeah, there's people who I actually like really respect as podcasters, but when I watch them, I'm like, holy shit, like you are writing like really complicated questions in advance, and you seem deeply uncomfortable when it goes off script, which to me...
Okay, so you're like this for everybody that you interview.
I mean, sometimes I'll be a little bit more structured, but for the most part, I'm trying to meander.
Okay.
So I'll have an outline, but then I'm trying to just like deviate from that.
Is this because your viewers prefer the meandering, or because you prefer the meandering?
I feel like that's just going to get us to like more interesting terrain if we're willing to just like go down rabbit holes.
Yeah, I think I'm often confused about rules for conversation, like unspoken social norms that people sort of haven't made explicit. And like one of these rules is like, how much do I interrupt and then ramble about something? I don't know. I'm saying that.
Well, I think about that a lot too, because like as a interviewer, you kind of always have the option to personalize the conversation and like just take it in the direction of talking about your experience. And I feel like that's a lot of times kind of like a selfish and non-ideal decision, to just like, you tell me some shit about you and I'm just like, okay, let me tell you that exact same thing from me, because in large part my audience already knows all this shit about me. They have way too much knowledge about me. So it's kind of like, if I'm going to tell an anecdote about myself, I feel like I have to have a pretty high bar for it.
Okay.
I've told many of my best anecdotes and stories, and
so you're like cleared out. You've dumped everything.
I just don't, honestly, like I listen to Joe Rogan, and there are certain stories that he will tell, and I'll just be like, bro, like literally, this is probably my 15th time hearing you tell this story. And I appreciate how much you're acting like you're just not even on camera. You're just like having a good conversation. But like, seriously, bro, like I've been listening to you for 10 years. Like, I don't want to hear this story again. But it's probably also a product of being like 54. You just, you're just telling those stories over and over. But that to me is a big deal, though. Like, when do you become an old head?
When do you become an old head?
When do you start feeling like a geezer to your audience?
Are you a geezer?
Probably to a lot of these fucking 19-year-old kids who think like, oh, like that's the big hip-hop platform. Why the fuck is a 40-year-old white dude running it? And I feel you. Like, for sure, like I need to be unseated at some point. But that's a weird thing about being an interviewer or a podcaster, is that I feel like you almost nobody's good at it until you're like into your 30s. It's just hard to be like a 21-year-old great conversationalist. Like, it's just Unlikely.
Yeah.
You know, just you need a lot of life experience to be able to really interrogate somebody properly. So, okay, like, how did you turn to the escorting shit? I feel like I still am not clear on that. You went
I did cam. I was a cam girl.
Right.
Worked at the factory. That sucked. One thing led to another. Poor on a friend's couch. Desperately tried camming. I was like, oh my god, I made $60 today. $60. It's the most I've ever seen in a day, or for that amount of work. And then I cammed for 5 or 6 years. Got real burnt out after a while. Had a brief stint at a not so great crypto company in 2017, and then turned to escorting because I was like, I need more money, and I don't want to cam anymore. So then I started dudes.
It's funny though in the porn world how there's this weird floating stigma associated with escorting because so many of the big girls do it. But the girls who don't do it kind of talk about the girls who do it.
Yeah, it's a fascinating
little
hierarchy. As cam girls also, we would have sex on camera, but I remember there was also stigma among the cam girls. Like, well, she's going off and f***ing her clients.
I feel like, okay, escorting is like coke. When you do coke, people start offering you coke. People can tell that you do coke, and they'll start kind of offering it to you. Like, I get offered coke very little because people just know I don't do it anymore. But I think escorting is like that too, where people will talk to us sometimes about other girls and kind of act judgmental towards them for escorting, or ooh, she's been in New York for the last 3 weeks. They don't shoot porn there, she's escorting. And it's obviously within the world of girls who actively escort, that same person probably wouldn't talk to one of them about that Yeah. I feel like it's only got that stigma because it's kind of looked at as some brokey shit.
Brokey shit?
Yeah, if you're making a shitload of money on OnlyFans or a shitload of money doing studio porn, then you maybe wouldn't feel the need to do that. But obviously some girls just like it, and some girls make a shitload of money doing it.
Yeah, I mostly stopped doing escorting when OnlyFans took off for me. But I'm in currently the highest priced publicly listed escort in the world, as far as I can tell. So I'll do
How much?
$4K an hour.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Not I.
Yeah, so I don't do it super often, but I still occasionally like it. Because again, if I want casual sex, this is a way of tricking my lady brain into letting me have casual sex. It's not often, sometimes it's nice, but sometimes it's not very high quality. But
I can't imagine because that as much as I've done well for myself over the years, if I could go some chick for 45 minutes and get $4,000, I mean, shit, that's tempting.
Yeah.
But I don't think my wife would understand. She would judge me for that, which is gay, and she should open her mind.
Maybe she should start escorting.
I think she'll be like, No, I think that she should think it's hot that my new escort career that I've just now decided that I'm going to take on. She should think it's hot. No, you know what I thought was hot? There's a fucking male porn star I know, and I'll just shout him out. Shout out Kieran Lee. And I seen him at an event, and he's with his wife, and she doesn't do porn. She takes care of the family. And he goes out and he lays dick down and pays those fucking bills. Fucking these hoes.
Yeah.
Even though that is not my situation, when I realized that was his situation, I was just like, oh, yeah, that's badass, dude. That's just, there's something cool as about that to me, that he's just like a cowboy going off into the world and just laying shit down and then just come back and be a family man.
Yeah. I mean, work is work. It's interesting to me how psychologically different clients are from normal sex. Some people yell at me when people have very strong opinions about body count. And I don't want to artificially deflate my body count. But it kind of feels to me psychologically that my body count is only unpaid sex. Sex with clients feels like it's work. I don't know. It just doesn't hit the same part of my brain at all.
Right. And it's weird because it's on a surface level, if I'm talking about a female porn star with a random dude, a non-performer, a civilian, it's easy for me to be like, oh, Haley Davies? Yeah, I fucked her a bunch of times. But deep down inside, yeah, you fucked her for OnlyFans. You fucked her for content. Yeah. That is it's not like you really just met her and she chose to let you fuck. That's different.
Yeah.
But to the civilian, it's just as cool that I did it on camera. Even though to me, I feel a little shady being like, yeah,
I know, right? Because like sometimes I'll be like, well, my sex count feels like it's, the smaller number. And then people online will get so mad at me. They're like, what do you mean your clients don't count? Like, this girl's trying to downplay her body count or whatever.
But I get it.
And I'm like, sure, but I don't know. It feels like weirdly false.
But also, like, my body count before porn, I feel like maybe I'm at like 700 now, but I think I was at 300 before I started doing porn. And it's like, when I think about the girls I was I mean, like, they're not even... The average girl that before porn is just like so much less attractive than the girls that in porn. Or if I was single now, the kind of chicks that I could realistically get just off of clout, charisma, whatever. Like, I was fucking random ass bar trolls for the whole beginning part of my life. Random chicks off MySpace. Nothing to really be proud of. And that's like just such a bullshit way to inflate your number. Like,
the random chick off MySpace is like gonna watch this and be like, no.
For sure, I never hear from any of them, which is weird.
Do you think they watch you?
I don't know. Like, randomly, some girl that I when I was like 21 called me the other day and was like, I'm hanging out with this dude getting drunk, and he's like telling me he's a big fan of you. Holy shit, this is weird. Like, I fucked you back in the day. And I was like, wow, this is such a weird conversation I never get to have. I was just like,
how'd it feel? Did you feel good?
Yeah, whatever.
Do you think you would know if it felt good? Like, do you have that level of self-insight?
I just feel like now, like, very, like, almost no chick is going to be able to have an effect of like making me feel good or feel like I'm like boosting my ego off a girl. Yeah. It's just not really like, which is like, I feel like that's the thing I was addicted to. There's a
subreddit called r/big problems. Are you familiar with this?
No.
There's like a vibe where it's like people are kind of sad on the subreddit, but like everybody from the outside is like, you have nothing to be sad about. And I'm like wondering if this is the way people feel about you, where you're like, damn, no women can make me feel I've had sex with so many of them, it barely counts. Like, do people are like, oh no, this is his big dick problem?
For sure, there's girls that could make me feel something. It's just that they're probably not going to be like a regular chick.
Yeah.
Because
standards are high.
This is a weird thing that happens, and I'm going to sound like a total asshole, is that once you have like a sufficient amount of clout, and once you have a sufficient number of fans, and once you've had a sufficient number of people treat you like you're something so special, anyone who gets slotted into the fan category is immediately like, you're not going to be able to make me feel anything.
Yeah.
Because you just asked me for a picture and I f with that. Like, that's dope. I appreciate the fandom, but I can't take you serious as like a participant in my emotional state.
Right.
You know?
Oh yeah. People hate me when I talk about this online. They fucking hate it because like, as I've like grown in influence and power or something, it feels like the kinds of people I'm attracted to have like increased also, or like now the pool is like getting smaller of people that feel like they matched me or something.
I don't think I could be in a relationship with somebody that didn't have like a public persona.
Yeah.
I don't think that they'd be able to get it or like understand.
Right. And I think I thought that this was like a shallow concept before it happened to me. But like when I'm around or like in relationships with people who are significantly less powerful than me, like it manifests in the relationship. Right. It like starts to come out in weird ways. And I'm like, I don't like feeling like I have this much power over another person. Like I want to be in a relationship with an equal, but it's rough.
That's the weird thing in hip hop is that dudes will end up in relationships with girls, right? And then it'll come out that girl so-and-so, another famous dude prior. And it was like a fucking scandal.
Because she had sex before the relationship?
Yeah. Basically, like the notion that she had casual sex with one of your peers and that you now are in a real relationship with her and you chose to like invest in this person and love this person and spend money on this person, etc. That's looked upon as if like you're kind of a clown, even though I can throw out like infinite examples of like, okay, Travis Scott is like one of the absolute biggest rappers and he's in an on and off relationship with Kylie Jenner, who's like basically the most famous fucking person in our culture, right? And you know, you could look at a whole list of dudes that she around with before him, right? And he still chose to get in a relationship with her, even though, like, you know, he's basically got his pick of like nearly any woman that he could want, you'd think. And so, but still, like, okay, Ruby Rose is another chick, super fucking hot, super famous within hip hop and shit like that. She gets into a relationship, which I guess we don't necessarily know that this was real, but it was at least being presented somewhat convincingly that it was real with this guy Drewski. He's a comedian. People immediately start trying to like trigger him by posting screenshots of like collages that they created of like 50 plus dudes that they claimed that she slept with. Now, a lot of these names were like very debatable. Like, we have no real reason to think that she actually slept with these people. But like the fact that she's physically fucking gorgeous, rich as fuck, famous as fuck, is like totally diminished and like treated as if it's nothing in comparison to the fact that like, oh, she may or may not have slept with like 50 dudes.
Is it the fact that they're sleeping with dudes at all, or like rather dudes who are known to the person, like peers?
I don't think it would be as of interest if people weren't able to identify at least some of these dudes, but for sure, just the body count in general is enough to
I guess it's like a typical body count. Like, why would you? Yeah,
but famous body count is worse. Because just the idea of like that dude has that over you. If you get into an argument with that dude can always say, yeah, f your bitch.
Over you. And so in my culture, like all my friends fuck each other. We've all like watched each other fuck each other.
That's the f***ed thing is I'm in hip hop and I'm in porn.
Yeah.
And in porn,
so it's got weird.
In porn, it is still kind of like that.
What do they think of you?
In hip hop?
Yeah. Or do they like
Zestophile? They think I'm just weird as f***. They're just like.
Okay, but you're accepted.
I'm on the fringes.
Okay.
Like I'm not like,
have polarized opinions about you.
Very, yes.
I see.
Yeah. But you know, honestly, like me letting another guy fuck my wife in hip hop is like totally new, uncharted ground. Nobody has ever done anything like this. Considering that, I think the fact that I like interview all these rappers like every week and that most of them don't even bring it up anymore is like kind of.
That's cool.
For sure, I like opened up the window of like what's considered acceptable in hip hop. It's not like there's anyone following behind me or anything, but like the fact, like the next dude who does do something like what I did with that whole thing will not take nearly as much flack. However, the question is, will anyone ever take on such a bizarre
No, I think there's like such an important part in culture is to be like the one willing to do the weird shit and then get a whole bunch of flack for it.
No,
like I wish more people were in this category. I feel like I'm often doing this. I'm like pushing a whole bunch of boundaries all the time and being really public about it. And I'm like widely hated for these things. But I'm like, somebody has to do it, right? You have a whole bunch of other people who maybe privately would like to live like this on their own. And they have like nobody else who like happens to be in a better position who can like be able to handle it. It's like you're doing it for like a bunch of people who quietly feel the same thing but don't feel brave enough to say it. I think it's really lovely and very virtuous.
But it's weird because you still have to make your decisions based on not just what you think is right or what the vision of what is right is going to be 10 years down the road. You have to also think about the cultural mores in which you like exist. And so like the example that comes to mind is like a lot of times I'll see old documentaries and they'll be like talking to some band or some like artist and there'll be like an opportunity for them to take some kind of corporate sponsorship and they'll reject it because up until the last maybe like 10 years, if you were an artist and you took on a corporate sponsorship, it was like largely looked down upon as if you were a sellout. But if you like were to be alive in 1995 right now and you were Kurt Cobain, would you take the Sprite sponsorship? Because the truth is that probably would have defined Kurt Cobain's legacy, even though the modern Kurt Cobain probably would take the Sprite sponsorship and nobody would really like look down upon them for it, right?
Okay.
So the question is like, do you want to be right long term or do you want to be beloved within your era? Because the reality is that most people are not going to be forward thinking enough to realize that things are changing.
I don't know. It feels like there's something beyond that, which is like I have like certain values, which are like be as honest as you can to yourself and other people. And like maybe this is going to make you popular now or long term or neither, but there's something that feels like wholesome and important to me about that. Like, and also deeply loving. Like so much of people's attention is taken up with like checking your social shame things, like am I socially acceptable? And I think this happens on a subconscious level a lot of the time. But like I've had my life changed quite a lot by seeing other people accepting parts of themselves that I couldn't yet accept in myself.
I saw you pointing out that like there's no polyamory ever presented in movies, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, basically none. There's Bajiro Mastani, kind of, and Professor Whartonson in the Wonder Woman. How do you say that?
I feel like people would almost have a hard time becoming invested in it because it's so foreign to so many people, right?
Right. I mean, the same true is about gay people for a while, and also trans people.
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of heterosexual people, like when they watch movies, it's tough to have even a trans character or a gay narrative. It's like it's kind of jarring.
Yeah, I agree that
it's hard to see that without feeling like,
the...
oh, okay, here we go. They're cramming this down my throat, just because that's like the conservative reaction to it. And
yeah, sure, but like a lot of stuff that I like when I'm asking the question, how culturally accepted is something, I like using the ad test. Like, could a corporation successfully use this thing in an ad to sell a product? And then so, like, it depends a little bit on the culture you're selling to. Like, obviously, things that are selling to conservatives will use different things than liberals. But for example, like, we have gay people in ads now. This is just like a thing, and so I think that's like a good example that this is culturally accepted. Trans people, like, a little bit less so. Like, we see them in some kinds of media, and like, but they're very polarized right now. But
I felt like
people, not basically not at all.
I felt like Euphoria was the first TV show that I saw, or like piece of art that I saw, that made me feel more understanding of the trans experience and made me like really kind of question my own assumptions.
Oh, cool. How did it make you question your own assumptions?
You know what else had this effect on me is there's this punk band Against Me, and the singer transitioned, Tom, to Laura Grace, I believe, and I read her biography, and that really also like really forced me to like empathize with trans people more than I probably had up till that point. Yeah. Which I always felt like I was kind of open-minded to it, but like really just seeing the turmoil that somebody must go through to make that decision, it just really like knocked me over the head. But I don't know. I mean, like, feels like the average conservative person like walls themselves off to not be able to have that reaction, even though J.D. Vance was apparently had a very strong connection to a trans person at some point in his life. So like that's a good model for them of like, oh, this is what it would be like to treat a trans person like a human being, even though he I guess did a hard pivot away from it.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing is complicated. Like, the culture war, I think, especially, like, makes it more difficult because now people have like identity anchored in not accepting trans people, and like it's going to be embarrassing for them to change their mind. This is one problem I think we have a lot of culture is like, if you want to actually change people's mind, you have to like give them forgiveness and approval once they do. But a lot of people, it's like, oh, you're so stupid for believing this, you're a bigot. And now people like anchor down harder. They're like, no, I'm not. Like, I have reason for thinking what I do. Instead, you have to be like, hey, I understand you believe this, but like, it's totally chill if you like come over here. You know, it's like good and wholesome to like change your mind about these things.
We need that. We need like transphobes for Kamala. And we need to just be like, yes, come in. Like, it's all good. Like, we're not with you on that, but you know, we'll probably figure something out long term, you know, like because the Republicans are just so good at just inviting everybody in. To the point where it's shocking when they start shunning the like hot Republican chicks who are like posting bikini pictures and shit. Cause it's like, you guys are supposed to just be like you don't even give the Nazis a hard time. Like the real deal white supremacists, you guys are like quietly like, yeah, okay, you're good. Like, you're on our side. But then somehow it's like when a conservative woman is like, well, actually, I'm kind of like in favor of abortion being legal. It's like, get the fuck out of here. You're done. We can't have you over here.
They are kind of weirdly insane about women.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was raised in that culture. I don't know. Like, I came from like a pretty strong being insane about women culture. So I guess that makes sense. We were also very anti-abortion, like protested abortion clinics and
I grew up in a mega liberal family.
That seems slightly chiller.
No, yeah, it was chill. My parents like had gay friends when I was a kid.
Nice.
Jew friends.
Wow.
We would be like, they would hide gold coins around the house, and we go find the chocolate gold coins. That was like a Jewish like tradition that we did. And when I think about it now, I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. Yeah. My parents had a bunch of Republican friends too. Like, I remember going over their houses and just hearing my parents argue like Clinton versus Bush. But it seemed like it was in good spirit.
Yeah, I do wish we had more of that nowadays. There's the thing where it's like, if somebody disagrees with you, you sort of assume they're stupid instead of being curious about why they disagree.
Right.
I think curiosity could get us a lot farther.
But there's just a lot of Republican positions that I just don't even want to talk to you about because they're just so stupid that it's like I just don't even want to have this conversation because it's just going to make me think less of you. And so I feel towards a lot of my peers.
Yeah. Do you tell them that?
I just kind of ignore it. I remember I went to Miami and like was meeting up with like, you know what the Fresh and Fit podcast is?
I've heard legends.
Right. There are legends. But like I went to like a restaurant to meet up with them and everyone at the table is just like basically talking about how the vaccine is going to kill you. And I'm like, I'm f***ing vaccinated. That shit is bullshit. Like, what the f*** are you talking about, bro?
Well, why do you think they
everyone at the table just like looking at me like, whoa. Like, they were shocked that I was like pro-vaccine.
So they must be in such a strong cultural bubble to like be surprised when somebody has a deviant opinion.
For sure.
So why do you think they believe that? Like, why do you think that this cultural bubble has gotten created at all?
I just think the conspiracy shit is so alluring to people.
Why is it alluring?
It's just, there's a lot of power to be had in being the person who is presenting this information to your audience.
Mm. Do you feel that similar level of power in anything else?
Not really. I don't feel like I'm trying to like push any like dissident fucking cultural opinions on people.
What's the craziest conspiracy theory you believe?
God, that's a tough one. I don't know if I believe any of them. Like, well, I mean, there's conspiracies.
Do you believe in aliens?
No.
Okay.
I feel like I'm so resistant to conspiracies that by the time I would believe in one, it would be like accepted common knowledge.
Okay. So you're very like low risk in terms of the kinds of
Yes.
theories about the world that you ascribe to.
Yeah, pretty much. Like I really need you to prove this to me if I'm going to believe that, you know, Trump set himself up to be shot so he could garner support to win the election, which is like a real position that like people were like really, oh, you see Trump got shot? That shit seemed like a setup. Like people I know like pushing this, and I'm just like, bro, you're
gambling, right? You might make a lot of money off prediction markets.
I heard Destiny saying on his podcast with Sam Harris today that one of his favorite things to do is to buy stock in companies that like lose a shitload of value after being canceled, like Bud Light, because he's so confident that within like a couple months that
usually bumps back.
It's going to jack back up. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Right, but you can also make predictions about normal. So prediction markets are where you can like make a statement about the world, like, will I break up with my girlfriend in 3 months? And people bet on it. And then a lot of people will bet on things like, will it turn out that like the Trump thing was a fake? And you can bet on it. So you can bet.
Poker players do this all the time. Like, well, not that specifically, but there's like a lot of this weird prediction market shit. And I've never really got into it, but yeah.
It's pretty fun. You can make predictions about like what the guests will say on your podcast, or like if your audience will like them or something.
It seems like such a bizarre thing to do because like it's so obviously cheat.
Yeah, well, that's cheating. Is
tell you
encouraged.
like, hey, say this at some point during the podcast. I'm going to make $10,000 on this betting website.
Right. You'd think that, but every time I've tried to manipulate one of my own markets, I actually lose because like people like rapidly learn what you're doing. Like, oh, he told the person to say this last time, or the person like unusually said this last time. Now we're going to bump up the theory that maybe he told them to say it. And the next time you do this prediction market, people are going to adjust.
It feels easy to manipulate.
Yeah, well, then you can make money.
Well, I mean, I hear a lot of people say that like, if you're not willing to bet on your opinion, then you don't really even hold
Make
that
your beliefs
opinion.
pay rent. Yeah.
Yeah. Whack. I did this podcast with this guy, Whack 100, this bald-headed and he's always trying to do that. He's like, put money on it. Put money on it.
I think that's virtuous. I think that's really good.
Not the way he does it. The way he's doing it is like manipulative and evil. But for other people, I agree.
But the thing is, I think if he's trying to do it in a manipulative and evil way, like ultimately the money will tell the truth, right? So like if he's like trying to manipulate you into doing something, but you're correct, then he's going to look like an idiot.
I don't feel like when it comes time to settle up that I would be able to get a rational assessment of whether that thing happened
that's fair.
or not.
If the market maker is biased, then you do have problems. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I don't want him to be the judge of that. Okay, I have to pee. We just did like 2 hours. Jesus Christ. My fucking burps are coming up. This is a nice way to end this. Do you want to promote anything? You want to tell them what your OF is or anything like that?
Well, mostly I'm writing a Good at Sex series. So I track a lot of data. All the clients that I have, I wrote down like sex positions, orgasm rates. I've basically been keeping a shit ton of data about sex and interviews with people about sex for years now. And like based on all this, I'm writing a series.
Like the girl in Mallrats.
What?
You have no idea? Watch the movie Mallrats and you're going to immediately know when there's a character who's basically you.
Okay, so I am apparently this girl in Mallrats.
Yeah.
And I've collected a whole bunch of data, and I've like now I'm writing a series of like how to be good at sex, like basically like the advanced mode of sex, how to like basically get a girl hooked on your penis heroin in a metaphorical sense. And so far it's gotten great reviews, and seems about a third of people who read it report noticeably increased reviews from their sex partners. So that's my passion right now, and if you want to like get anything out of all the effort I've been putting in, like that's what I would recommend.
Nice.
Yeah.
How do I pronounce your name again?
Aella.
Aella.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't even say it the whole time.
Yeah, good job. I know. Yeah.
I wasn't trying to. I didn't notice until just then when I said it too. All right. Thank you very much.
Right.
Appreciate you. It was a good conversation.
Thank you too.
No Jumper, coolest podcast in the world. Like, comment, subscribe. We out.